has launched these mobility heat maps, which will show you the whereabouts and the routes, of bikes, of scooters, etc. The title here is Visualizing Micro Mobility Patterns Across Cities with Movement's New Mobility Heat Map. Today, Uber launches the new Mobility Heat Map in 8 cities across the globe: Brussels, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Paris, Rome, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. This product aggregates jump, bike, and scooter activity and maps it to the city streets, visualizing where these new modes are most common, right? The most commonly used routes for these products in these cities. This tool is the latest addition to the Uber movement data sets, which makes aggregated and anonymized mobility data free and publicly available. Uber launched a version of this product as a part of its city mobility campaign, which supports legislation that requires new mobility lanes to be added as a part of street repaving projects. We are excited to build upon this initiative by adding the ability to download the new mobility heat map so advocates and city planners can better incorporate this data into their work. Bill Nesper, Executive Director for the American League of Bicyclists, said of the project, American cities need more safe infrastructure for people biking and using micro-mobility. Infrastructure advocates have been demanding this for years. The micro-mobility heat map data Uber is sharing with governments and advocates shows the demand and helps ensure that infrastructure is built where it will help the most people, especially as travel patterns have been impacted by COVID-19. The League of American Bicyclists is glad to see this effort and hopes that cities embrace bicycling infrastructure as part of creating safer, healthier, and more accessible communities. Before we carry on, let me just show you what that looks like. So here you could basically click on show the bike lanes, you nominate that, and it'll show you the routes that these scooters or bikes are taking. That's pretty impressive, right? Typically, planners and advocates are left to rely on anecdotal evidence and dispersed bike counters to gather information about new mobility lane usages, leaving massive gaps in the understanding of biking and scootering activity. New Mobility Heat Map provides unprecedented coverage of new mobility activity across the city in order to understand how travel patterns of these new options may differ and where bike lanes are most needed. We hope that cities and advocates put this data to immediate use during this time of reduced movement, and cities are able to implement quick build projects, such as adding new mobility lanes in the coming months. As such, we analyzed bike and scooter activity in San Francisco via the new mobility heat map to understand where micro-mobility activity is happening relative to bike lanes. Biking activity and bike lane infrastructure are highly correlated throughout the city. One notable exception is along Fisherman's Wharf, where the bike lane in green ends, yet biking activity remains high. So yeah, there's a lot of cool data there. I'll put the link in there for you, and may not really appeal to drivers, this article, but for the riders that are looking at ways of moving around the city, these maps I think could be extremely helpful, and obviously to the city themselves as well. Cheers.